So our cow finally calved. We have a Jersey milk cow, and she was pregnant and due in September, and she finally calved. The unfortunate thing is it didn't quite go how we were hoping. I'm going to spell out the story of everything that has happened actually in the last month with this cow, and then what happened during her labor, and then a really neat way that the Lord kind of turned it around and brought us an unexpected blessing. So stick around if you want to hear. Hey guys, it's Sarah at H's for Homestead, and today I want to share a little bit with you about our milk cow, Makushla, that's way out there in the field, and the story behind her labor and what the Lord kind of brought to us through that. So Makushla, we bought her as a bred cow, and we bought her back in March, and so we knew that she was pregnant, but she despises needles, and we didn't have a confirmed pregnancy test. We kept trying to take it, and drawing blood from her is not an easy task, and so finally we were able to draw the blood and get a positive pregnancy test, I want to say in the beginning of August, and it was positive, and I was so excited. But then we had been told she was due in September, and so it was like, as quickly as possible, we need to dry this cow off so that she can get her at least 2-month dry period. It's really important for a milk cow to have that dry period to get ready to have a baby, and all the energy stores to go towards that, and then also for their body to produce milk again. Producing that much milk is a lot. So 10 months out of the year they're in milk, and 2 months out of the year at the least they are dry. So I immediately started working to dry her off. We followed precisely the protocol in the book, Keeping a Family Milk Cow. And as we did that, she is a very heavy or a high producing cow. As we did that, things seemed to go well, and probably after the first 10 to 14 days, I checked her once or twice a day in the beginning, and then once a day a little bit after that. And I started noticing that she had a little bit of a hard lump on her right hind quarter. Sorry, you guys, my hand's getting tired. So I watched it closely, and at that point, it was closer to the end of August, and so I was like, you know what? I can't even give her medicine that is supposed to be given to a dry cow, because it says don't give 30 days before calving. We didn't know if she was due September 1st or if she was going to go all the way at the end of September. And so we couldn't give her that. We got in contact with a dairyman, and he suggested we just wait it out and see what happens. So it started to look a little bit better. I was rubbing her udder down with something called udderment or Dynament that is for the udder, and it seemed like it was going well. And then probably, 4 weeks ago this Tuesday, so when this comes out, that'll be tomorrow. 4 weeks ago tomorrow, I really noticed a huge hard spot on the back of her udder, and I was like, yikes, this is not good. What do I do? And again, we started talking to the dairy guy, and he said, you know, you can either let it just sit and hope that you can flush it out when she has her calf, or you can start milking out just the infected quarters. We can get a little bit of medicine in there. We can see if we can break it up. And we opted to do that option because we just didn't know when she was going to calve, and it looked so bad, and every day it was getting worse and worse. And so we just decided, you know, I think we're just going to go ahead for it. So for 3.5 solid weeks, I gave medicine. I rubbed her udder down twice a day with the Dynament, and also with, what is it called? I have it over here. I'm forgetting. For some reason, you ever have those words that are just like, I don't know what this is. It's like a mental block. Try not to get my shoes icky. Castor oil. which is something that another dairy person suggested to me. So castor oil and Dynamit at least twice a day for 3.5 weeks. We did an antibiotic it goes straight up into the teat and you squirt the medicine in. We did that 2 separate times. We gave her some antibiotic in her muscle, in the muscle in her neck and the muscle in her rear end. And literally, I have fought so incredibly hard for this cow and to get her better. So we were watching and watching and watching, and September keeps rolling around. And as the days go by, it really just seems like the mastitis is getting worse. Her udder started to fill on the other side, and so that's a very good sign of labor coming soon. But the main thing you want to look for is for their pins to drop. And so the morning of when she started to go into labor, I noticed while I was milking out the infected side, which is the right side, that the left side, which I've left completely alone, was dripping milk. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. This is what we looked for. And if any of you guys follow me on Instagram, I was giving like updates every day. People were so invested, which was really sweet. But honestly, it was so exciting. And I checked her that day probably, I don't know, every couple of hours, when I could tell it wasn't going to be like immediately. And as we went along, she had more like stringy mucus coming out, and then it turned tinted red. And last week we had revival at our church, so it's evening services every single night. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this cow's gonna have this calf when we were at church. But it didn't look like she was close enough, so I went ahead and went to church, came back, and she was laying down, and there was no calf, but there was a significant amount of blood, which can be normal, but I'm learning now that that wasn't normal for her. And so with the significant amount of blood, I'm gonna sit down because my arm is hurting. I just knew, okay, this calf is going to be coming tonight. So I set my alarm for midnight. We got home probably like 9 o'clock or 9:30. And I just knew, okay, we're going to be having a calf tonight. And I was so excited, and I set my alarm, and I came out here in the middle of the night, and she still was pretty much in the same spot, and nothing had happened. And I'm going to overlay some timelines of things and videos, because I want to show. Now, when in the moment, I wasn't really thinking YouTube, and so I took it the wrong direction. So I'm sorry about that, but I still want to show you guys the footage that I have. And so midnight rolls around and nothing is really happening. And so I was like, okay, it doesn't even look like she looks exactly the same as she did 3.5 hours ago. So I am going to just set my alarm for 5 and come back out here so I can get a chunk of sleep. And that next day was my husband's birthday, October the 5th. And so we go out. I think we ended up going out at like 5:30, and my son was awake. He is 12. And we go out, and I see what I think is the water bag. And I know when the water bag's out, that baby's coming usually within an hour. And so we woke up some of the other kids and woke up my husband, and they had school that day. So it was like, yes, they wanted to see this calf born so badly. And so we decided to sit out there for a while. And as I watched her start to push, immediately something in my heart was like, this doesn't look right. This is the first calf that has been born on our property. But I have watched hours upon hours of YouTube videos of calves being born, read books, and done all of the studying that I could do. And it just, I had this really uneasy feeling. But then I didn't know if it was just like a first-time mom kind of a thing where it was going to be fine. And I had talked to the dairy farmer that had been helping us, and he said, you got to let them do their thing, right? God made them to do this. 99% of the time, jerseys can just pop them out and it's going to be fine. So don't intervene unless you need to. So I waited and for like an hour, and she had pushed and pushed and pushed with no progress. And so we decided to call some friends of ours that are down the road, and they deal more with sheep, but they have dealt with lots of labors, and they've been able to turn sheep if they were in the wrong position and things like that. So I decided to call them. They came, and then before they even came, I called the dairy guy and I said, something is not right. This is not looking right to me. And I feel like we might need you to come. And so he lives probably like half an hour away. And he said, I'm going to pack my stuff up and I'll be there as quick as I can. So then our friends arrived and we're watching, and she's still not progressing. I had bought those really big long gloves, and so I had tried to reach in and feel, and I don't know what I'm feeling for. All I could tell was I felt something hard. So I said, I think it's either the head or it's the rear end, like they're coming out backwards. And how a cow is supposed to present is with the two front feet and the nose sitting on top of it. That's how you want a calf to be born. I couldn't feel hooves, feet, nothing at all. And so I knew something wasn't right. And so the cow, anytime anybody would mess with her, Makushla is her name, the Jersey, she would try to get away, obviously, because it's uncomfortable. But I started noticing, wait, she can't stand up. She would try to stand up and she would just literally flop over. One time she flopped straight into the electric fence and we had to run and turn it off. I wish that I could fully portray how absolutely traumatizing the whole thing was. But the Lord sustained. And I think looking back now, it's like, how was I not freaking out? I felt like I stayed calm the whole time, which I'm really thankful for. Anyway, I went to go get some molasses water for Makushla because I just felt like, I don't know when she's had water. She can't get up. And so she needs some energy. She just acted like she was completely exhausted. So warm water, molasses, I put some mineral salt in there, and, I was coming to bring it to her when our friends who had stayed with her started calling my name and saying, something isn't right, something isn't right. And I look over to see Makushla flopped on her side, flailing around, looking like she was having a seizure. Like her eyes were rolled back, and I just knew that she was dying. It was terrifying. And so I take the basket or the bucket of water, and I continue to bring it over there. And my friend said, let's just try to scoop with our hands and get some water into her and see if that helps. At that point, her eyes were closed and she was shaking all over. And so I just basically forced her mouth open and dumped a handful of warm molasses water into her mouth. And the second I did, her eyes popped open and she was like wanting to suck it up. So that was encouraging. So I was like, okay. Dan went and found me a syringe, and I was able to continue to give her that. And around that time is when the dairy farmer from like half hour away or whatever, he showed up. And I think I just knew already that the calf was dead because of how traumatizing everything had been. But my heart was still hopeful that, okay, yay, he's here. He's going to help us. When he got there, he said he felt her head. So the calf's, both of her feet were back and her head was turned to the side. So instead of feet forward and like nose on top, she was just all in completely the wrong position. And when he got there, he said, this looks like her placenta, not her water sac. And he said, that's not supposed to be out. That shouldn't be out. And I knew that, but I didn't know if that's what the placenta was. I knew placenta comes out after baby. Anyway, so as he reaches in, he says, okay, this is the position. And at this point, Makushla just is pushing and pushing and pushing. So he's having to push against her to try to get the calf back in position and pull the feet up and get the head turned. And once we do that, he has chains and is able to, we're able to pull the calf out. I will just say that some of the pictures and the videos that I have might be kind of, I don't know, just use your own discretion. I don't want them to be traumatizing to you. But yeah, I'm going to share them anyway, just because people are asking, and somehow there is, it feels like almost a little bit of healing happening in sharing the story and the things that happened, getting them out of my heart, I guess. Anyway, so as the calf is being pulled out by chains, I am up with my cow at her head this whole time. It's like I want to be the mom that helps her and calms her down and comforts her, and I'm giving her the molasses water. But as they get the head out, I really want to see. And even as the calf was born, there was this second where I thought, oh, it's fine. And then it very quickly became apparent that the calf was not fine, that it was not alive. And it was hard. It was really hard. But I had children around. And so I tried very hard to keep my emotions in check, and just help them process, I guess. Anyway, we were able to continue to give Makushla the molasses water, and my friends that were here said, let me take your kids to school, because I had contemplated going back and forth, like, should we take him to school? Should we not? It was just so traumatic. And we felt like it would be a good distraction while we tried to take care of burying the calf. That's a really hard thing for kids to see. And then also being able to process a little bit ourselves. And then I really was not sure if our milk cow was going to still make it. She was still on her side. We weren't sure. And so I didn't want them there to see that. So the friends took them to school, and she came back and checked on us and said the kids were really sad. We might need to go get them from school. We checked in on them several times, and my husband works at this school. He's off on Thursday mornings, and so he was able to stay and help with all the cow stuff and then go to school and check on them. I was talking to their teachers, and they said, I think they're okay. I think it's a good distraction. So that portion was good. We were able to take care of burying the calf, and we got Makushla up off of her side, and she was able to, we brought the 5-gallon bucket of molasses over, and she like inhaled it, like sucked the whole thing down. Excuse me. And then we brought some hay, and she started munching on the hay right away. And so that was such a good sign to see her. She tried to stand and fell over and flopped to her side again, which you don't want cows on their side. They can actually die. So we had to pick her up and prop her up with like big pieces of wood. And we stayed out there with her for a while, and everybody left. And then is when everything kind of started sinking in, and I was able to process what happened, how traumatic it was, that she was okay, that it was a little heifer. The calf was a little heifer, which is a girl. And I was just so disappointed. And I had fought for so long to keep this cow healthy. Anyways, so we were quite disappointed. And because Makushla has mastitis, and we aren't actually sure what it's coming from or what type it is, we don't feel comfortable drinking her milk raw until we can get it tested. And so I'm sitting there thinking, I'm going to be milking this cow to just dump. So discouraging. Well, about 2 hours later or 3 hours later, I get a phone call from the dairy farmer who had come and helped us. And he said, hey, my son buys these bottle calves, and they're a Holstein Angus mix. And there's one that's not thriving. He's not doing well. The other two are stronger, and so they're beating him out to the food. Looks like he might be sick. I don't know if you would want him, but we'd be glad to give him to you for free if you want to see if your mama cow will adopt him. And I felt like it was a huge answer to prayer, because the calf can drink the milk and can kind of take care of all of that process. Milking out for a cow is so much better than just dumping it or even just giving it to the chickens. I don't know. And so we were like, yes. So I called my husband. He was already back at work, and I said, do you want to throw a dairy or a beef calf in the back of the van after you're done with school, and bring them home. There's somebody who wants to give us one for free. So he figured it all out, found a tarp, grabbed the kids from school, drove to this farm, got the calf, and brought it back. So the kids, it helped the kids so much because they were so incredibly sad. And it's hard because it's not like I can say, it doesn't take away the hurt of losing that calf. And but yet at the same time it helps, but I'm still sad. You know, it's interesting. It's an interesting place to be. But anyway, so the calf, I have some videos of it that I'll show here, but the calf came to us, and he is sick still, but I think that he's doing better, and I'm just so hopeful that he and Makushla, our mama cow, can bond. They really aren't bonding right now. I think her birth was so traumatic that she is just not interested, but I'm noticing little things where I think they're going to be buddies. I guess we'll call it that. So I'm so thankful. She's still fighting the mastitis. And we are just praying that we can, now that she's had the baby, and there's a little bit of oxytocin flowing. Motorcycles love our road. There's a little bit of oxytocin flowing, that she can actually get rid of this mastitis. But we'll see. I feel confident in all that I have tried to do for this cow. I have fought harder than I think most people would for almost a solid month to keep her healthy. And so when you have dairy animals, especially dairy cows, I feel like when things like this happen, it really tests whether you want to do this or not. And I told my husband, I said, it has been hard, and there are some really incredibly discouraging and sad times. But for some reason, this has validated in me the desire to continue with dairy cows. It's almost like, if I can do this, I can do anything, right? This is like the hardest of the hard, with the potential of losing her still very prevalent. She could succumb to this mastitis and not make it, but we're fighting hard for it still. So anyways, that is the story. It's not necessarily how I wanted this to go. I had grand, exciting ideas for how this would look, and the Lord just somehow wanted it to be different for us. And I don't know all the reasons for that, but I do know that He's still good, and I do know that I trust Him, and I am thankful for the learning experiences that He's bringing me through, and I'm thankful for this new little calf. And it's been one of those hard homesteading weeks, but also I'm just so thankful that this is the life that we get to live, because it's amazing. It really is amazing. So I hope you guys enjoyed this story and the clips of the cow and the calf that we now have. His name is Felix. If you've ever seen the movie Christmas in Connecticut, best old Christmas movie ever. If you haven't seen it, you need to. But Makushla is the name of the cow on that movie, and Felix is kind of one of the main characters. So we said every Makushla needs a Felix. Oh, it's windy. I don't know if you can hear that. But thank you guys for all your support, and I'm excited to continue and show things that happen here on the farm and the homestead. I'm breaking away a little bit from my kitchen and sharing videos outside. So have a good week, guys. I'll see you later.